Of executive session, no votes were taken in executive session. I would entertain a motion to approve the institution of a lawsuit against MDM Golf LLC of Woodbridge and others.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. Next item on our agenda is at 7:30 is a public hearing on the neighborhood assistance applications, and it's just a little bit beyond 7:30. And
Do you want this? You can borrow my copy.
yeah, I need to do so. Thank you. Yeah, it is. Okay. In accordance with section 12-632 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the R.E. Van Nordstrom Neighborhood Assistance Act, I now call this public hearing to order to receive comments on the applications received for the 2012 Neighborhood Assistance Act. The legal notice was published in the New Haven Register on May 31, 2012. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Are there any comments from the public present regarding the application from Amity Teen Center, Inc., 10 Selden Street, for an energy conservation program? Total funding requested $150,000. JCC of Greater New Haven, Inc., 360 Amity Road, installation of cogeneration services for building. Total funding requested $80,000. JCC of Greater New Haven, Inc., 360 Amity Road, scholarships for children to attend day camp. Total funding requested $40,000. JCC of Greater New Haven, Inc., 360 Amity Road, scholarships for daycare services. Total funding requested $30,000. Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven, 360 Amity Road, New American Acculturation Program. Total funding requested $20,000. Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven, 360 Amity Road, Special Needs Program. Total funding requested $40,000. Is there any member of the public wish to address any of those requests or applications? Hearing none, then has the clerk received any additional written comments?
Not as of 4:30 today.
Okay. I now declare this public hearing closed, and so what this means is that we will transmit these applications to Hartford. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I think so. And the next item on our agenda is number 8, receive response from TPZ, an 824 referral for the new Public Works facility. And you have that document in your packet, and I'm going to read it. It's a letter from Alan Lipson, Secretary of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, dated May 21, 2012, addressed to the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Woodbridge. It's concerning the 824 referral of the new Public Works facility. It says, "Dear Board members, this is to serve to inform you that its regular meeting on May 7, 2012, the Woodbridge Town Plan and Zoning Commission acted on your referral for a report from the Commission pursuant to Section -824 of the Connecticut General Statutes regarding proposed demolition of the existing Public Works facility and construction of a new Public Works facility. It was the unanimous vote of the Commission to approve the referral for the proposed demolition of the existing Public Works facility and construction of a new Public Works facility because such improvements would be consistent and compatible with recommendations found in the Town Plan of Conservation and Development. The Commission members also offer the following recommendations relative to the project. 1. The project should be designed to maximize insulation where possible, using sustainable design. 2. Alternative pricing should be sought for the proposed roofing materials, and other materials should be considered as roofing materials. Sincerely, Alan Lipson, Secretary. So, item number 9 on our agenda is to consider and act upon a resolution which reads, in part, resolve that the resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $5,520,000 for a new Woodbridge Public Works facility and authorizing the issue of $5,520,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings therefore, be adopted and recommended for adoption by the legal voters of the town. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the entitled resolution and incorporate its full text into the minutes of the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
The copy that you just read from the agenda does not match up identically with the copy at the top of the resolution. So the second dollar figure is different, at least in my copy.
The second dollar.
I think what I read from the two are the same.
Yeah, the second dollar figure should be the same as the first.
What I read is the same. It's $5,520,000.
He's I
Right,
guess
but-
talking about this.
Oh, right.
He's talking 6 million.
Yeah, that should be 5 million.
Yeah,
Oh,
on
okay.
line 3 on our copies.
Okay.
Yep.
I think as long as we're,
I think that's the only, I think within the body of that resolution, reference is made to $5,520,000. But you're right, though. So what I read as the resolution, as the partial resolution, is $5,520,000. And that's contained in the body of the resolution.
I think it's Roth Moore, Moore, and Kagan, correct?
Yes, you are correct.
So that's incorrect in the body of the,
Yeah,
Oh, there's one, oh, missing? Yeah.
yeah.
And
I know with bonds that you have to be
as long as
careful.
we're being gone through this.
Oh. Well, that's what it's for.
Section
That's what
8,
it's here for, yeah.
it's the Board of Selectmen, I think.
Section 8.
Everything else I
Okay.
thought was good.
Does this resolution, says we're going to a town meeting on this?
Yes, that's going to be the next part of this, when I get to that. Yeah.
Can we talk about that when we get to that? Or?
Yeah, oh, sure, yeah, definitely.
I think we're still on a motion to waive the reading.
Right. And the motion was made, was it seconded?
Yes, I
Wait,
second.
okay. Any discussion?
Well, so we're waiving, but we're making changes. Or no, we're not making changes.
We're waiving the entire reading.
We're waiving the
of this.
reading.
The reading of it.
Out
okay.
loud, the whole
And
3
we-
pages.
we-
But we'll make the
I
changes we
think.
just
That was my
discussed.
Yeah.
motion.
Sorry.
Okay, so, all those in favor of the motion to waive the reading, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. All right, now the next, is there a motion and a second that the resolution be adopted?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
sorry, are we discussing it before we adopt it in terms of some of these things like the town meeting versus referendum?
That's going to come up next, yeah. That'll be the next.
Just limited to the resolution itself, what I was looking for when I went through this, when legislators submit applications to have bond authorizations, that they use the term not to exceed all the time. And so what I found in this resolution was comparable language, or so much thereof as shall be necessary, which is a much more poetic. Right? It's flowery. I like it a lot. All that aside, I think that language addresses what Chuck and Tony brought up during public comment, as far as the town's overall debt load, and so I was glad to see that there is a ceiling,
There is.
and so that's my comment.
And so, and just to follow up on that, if this is to be adopted and approved by a special town meeting, the whole project goes out to bid. And we just just been some conversation here about the firehouse.
The firehouse was $400,000 under budget after it was completed.
Right, but that was
Comparison to the bond.
But that was also, that was by referendum. Correct?
The approval process can be a special town meeting or referendum, yeah.
Right, so my concern on this, and maybe it's next, I don't know.
It is
that we have a referendum as opposed to a town.
But there's been a motion made and seconded that the resolution be adopted. So that's what's on the table. So is there any further discussion on that aspect? How this is approved is another aspect. Okay.
Well, the only thing I would like to say is, I thought the presentation the other night, and as we've heard it, has been very good. And although there was sentiment evidence at the public hearing the other night, I don't think that's the basis on which we're proceeding at all. This is a public need and an appropriate priority, it seems to me. And they brought it in at a very good price, and I think we ought to move forward with it.
Any further comments on the resolution?
I have just a comment or two. I totally agree it's a public need. I'm just concerned that we don't yet have Beecher a number we can really count on. We're hoping to have numbers at the end of this month that come in. Is everyone else comfortable treating these totally separately? I know they're totally separate.
If we
needs.
got
They're
the
not
numbers
competing
back
needs.
from Beecher, would that change this cost? For me, it would not. I think it's good government, good responsibility to go forward with this project. And I don't think it would change, at least my mind, in terms of what we're about to spend.
I don't
think
think it
they
would
have
change
really
the
done
cost
due
either.
diligence, and it's time.
No, I don't think it would change the cost.
No.
I mean,
We're not going to ask them to go back because Beecher goes up
Greg
or
is asking,
down.
would it change our priority?
Right.
That's what you're.
yeah. Well, like for example, the only one part of this project's not a large part compared to this $6 million total, but not totally comfortable, for example, with the truck wash part. The reason being is the fire department seems like totally content washing their trucks in the fire department, and they've said so they're washing them inside the fire department. I know part of the charge for this committee, who did a great job, part of their charge was to include a truck wash. But the fire department seems quite happy, and I just want to make sure a truck wash is totally necessary. One of the residents the other night said, you know, I don't know if I'm saying what he said right, but he wasn't opposed to it. He just said, I'm just hoping you will apply as much constraint as possible to this. And, you know, that's how I'm looking at it. I believe when Terry has said, this is the smallest building we can accomplish what we need to accomplish in. I really do. I was kicking around all these ideas of chopping this thing in half and could we fit into it and all this stuff. But I'm not totally comfortable in the truck wash part of it. I'm under the impression it might be like a $300,000 part of that budget. And I'm just saying, when the number finally comes in, we are going to have to just figure out how to do this. That graph that Tony put together as accurate as he could, and that's a Beecher $12 million number.
$12 million, correct.
Which may or may not be accurate.
Well, I think in terms of this truck washing, Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, in the original charge to the Firehouse Building Committee was to include a truck wash. And then it was taken out of there with the understanding that the truck wash would be incorporated into the Public Works facility. And so so I think that's why it is where it is, it's at the Public Works facility. And that truck wash, of course, would include not only the fire department vehicles, but Public Works vehicles and police vehicles. And so, if you want to comment further on that.
I brought a copy of your minutes, your approved minutes of August 10th, 2005, which contains the charge to the committee in a 7-page thing. I'd be happy to share this with anyone. And it, in its second part, directed the committee to have a truck washing facility sized to accommodate both the facilities department and the fire department vehicles. What's pretty remarkable about this, and I haven't read this for some time until this evening, the recommendations in the Part A attachment to this calls for a 17-bay truck garage with another 3,200 square feet for mechanics with a salt shed. This is before we built the salt shed. For a remarkable 18,980 square feet. It's a very detailed schedule, and we're at 9 bays, so
6,000 square feet.
it's much smaller.
Right, and I have no.
So, but I think that was the trade-off. We took the truck wash from the firehouse and put it over here. I'm probably having trouble fitting it in over there. I'm not sure about that, but
We have learned that truck washes are very complicated and expensive. I'll be frank with you.
and they're also mandated.
Absolutely. I happen to bring along the DEP requirements if you're interested in the general permit for discharge. There's also a guidance document for vehicle wash water and what can be done and what can be handled. I believe that when you directed the committee to do this, the committee took the task on and with the full knowledge that they'd have to follow the state regulations to do so. Now, I think that I don't know how the fire trucks are being washed and what the process is and what permits they have. I know that the way the salt gets on the roads is that we put it there. And the trucks that we put it there with come back very dirty. It's estimated, and I've seen this, between 5 and 15 gallons of solid material comes off these salt trucks after their service runs have been made. And we need to clean them up afterwards so that they are available for use the next time it snows, which could be the next day. So I think that with or without the fire department, we need a vehicle wash bay. But that's just the committee reacting to the charge of the selectmen. So,
Right, I don't disagree that it's in the charge, and that the frustrating part for me, and I talked to Chris about this the other day, is that I'd just like to know what the number is. And we know that the truck wash was part of the charge, and so there's no disputing that. I agree with you 100%. But the bays also have oil water separators in them, and so the stuff that's coming off the trucks, and I don't disagree with you at all that they need to be washed off and it needs to be taken care of properly, and you've got that built into the system now with the oil water separator, and it gets pumped out just like it would over at the firehouse. So it wasn't necessarily an environmental need for the truck wash at the firehouse. It was just that was something that they wanted to have, so they decided to move it over here. But they've got the oil water separator over there. You're going to have the oil separator over here.
yes, sir.
But when we're talking about $5 million, $6 million, and you're talking, I thought it was going to be a lower number, but now I'm hearing $300,000 for a truck wash. I'm not really comfortable that it's a necessity as much as it would be great to have it. I don't disagree. We talked about the the undercarriage wash and the spray and all that stuff, and they separate it differently in the using gray water as opposed to fresh water that's just going into the oil water separator. And there's it's cheaper long term to use the gray water because you're pumping it out less or whatever it has to be. All I want is a number. I just want to know how much is the truck wash.
$330,000, $760 in our present budget.
Okay, well that's what I wanted to know. So that's a big number to me. I mean, we're talking $6 million. Yeah, but still, 300 and what was it? 300 and
330,760.
That's a lot of money. So
Sorry to interrupt. My question is not so much the number. It's just, is it realistic that you could have, that you could wash trucks inside one of those bays? Or is that ridiculous?
What happens-
No, it's not.
One of my things is, because I've been with trucks all my life, truckloads of hydraulic hose, got oil all over everything. Now you gotta clean the truck off, okay? Now you're in a bay that a guy normally puts his, if you're gonna say you're gonna use a bay, and you're gonna be power washing off all that grease and everything and dirt. Okay, now it gets on the floor. Now you're gonna have to try to keep that floor clean, but you also gotta remember, that there's gonna be a vehicle in that all the time, vehicle at night. All of a sudden you start getting grease built up. You try to clean it off, you do the best you can. What's gonna happen over a period of time? The guy's gonna slip and fall because, oops, he got in his truck in the middle of the night trying to get in there. Pressure where we're cleaning up over there, truck wash area, or any kind of area. And fire trucks have, they have hoses that blow and stuff that goes on. You need an area where it's going to be over one area. I don't care if we bring it out smaller or we keep it the same size, but you need an area where you're going to be able to clean the vehicles. Sean the other night recommended, well, I clean my trucks and I go over to the firehouse and I'm going to get stuff all over them. We're only going 500 yards, okay? How much stuff are you going to get on? You can spray it off there and clean it off there a little bit more. There is going to be fresh water there so they can clean the vehicles. And then, if there's some gray water, they don't have to use the gray water. We can use regular pressure washers with clean water and go over there. I mean, I'm just trying to use a central location to clean them. Instead of two spots trying to clean them and everything else, we're trying to centralize everything. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to follow DEP regulations, and we're trying to be, we're trying to, everybody, so we get permits, we're legal with everything we do. That's all. We're given a charge. We're trying to do the best we can. And that was just my thought. I know $300,000 is a lot of money, but today everything costs a lot of money. That's the way we have to look at things. If that's what we have to do is take a bay down here and use that as a bay, then we lose a bay basically for one of the vehicles. Because basically, if you're going to be in there cleaning vehicles and doing stuff, that's going to be in and out. Say we're parked in there and all of a sudden you got a hose that breaks down, the guy's got to get in there, got to back a truck out to get it in there to clean it off. So that's where we're at. And those are good questions that you're asking. Those are important questions because we're talking about a lot of money here. And I think we're trying to be prudent as possible and trying to cut our costs where we can. And if we cut the costs way back, that's what we're going to do. And I want to do that. I don't want to spend any more we have to do. But we're trying to get here to get numbers and get a project moving forward. I think everybody agrees that we need the big building. We need to consolidate everything and put everybody together. And I think we've come a long ways. And I appreciate all your support, all you guys. But there's good questions that need to be asked, and we're going to try to answer them the best we can.
Terry, on the TPZ letter, do you have any idea of what they mean when they say alternative pricing should be sought for proposed roofing materials and other materials should be considered? Do you have any idea what they're doing?
Was it a conversation about sustainable design and having enough insulation? That's real important to us. The cost of heating buildings is over a short period of time is as much as the buildings themselves. This particular design is rather remarkable for putting it into the hillside. It's a lot of opportunity for a sustainable design, and we've taken their comments as well as the comments received from the Inland Wetlands Agency, which has decided that they do not require a permit. All the activity is outside their 100-foot regulated area, but in an abundance of caution, we submitted an application to them. Their engineering consultant, our engineering consultant, reviewed our engineer's plan and made several recommendations as to the size of riprap and technical things, and we've incorporated both the Town Planning and Zoning Commission and the Inland Wetlands recommendations as part of our plan.
But doesn't the roof already meet or exceed the R value?
Yeah, the R and the side panels. Those are that's K-wall, which is on the sides.
Okay.
And then the roof is going to be what, R30, Terry?
R38 actually.
Yeah.
The state of Connecticut in November adopted a very stringent, federally mandated energy conservation code, which we don't have any, we have an obligation to meet, and we intend to do so, and that will give us a rather remarkable difference in insulation. So we're able to achieve that. By the way, the roof is insulated with a foam plastic that's sandwiched between a wood and a standing seam metal deck. So there's no end of the amount of stuff that we can put up there.
Well, it doesn't, my conversation with Chris, it doesn't sound like, it sounds like they're already meeting the requirements that they're looking for.
We are
as far
meeting,
as
I believe that we are, by the way.
Right, yeah.
Can I ask a tiny, my recollection from being on several building committees over the years is that the firm pricing for all these things is several months off.
Right.
I mean, all we have are estimates right
It's all
now.
gonna
with
be
these-
bid out.
Right,
Right.
it's
These
all
are
gonna be
just
bid out, and these are just.
architects'
Right,
opinions,
right.
if you
This is
will,
just
about what this is
generic,
gonna
right,
cost.
right.
Right.
So I think by supporting this, what we're saying to this commission is move forward with the next step. And, right? I mean, that's all we're talking about right now.
And that's, this is
Because
approved.
God knows how much this stuff is really going to cost, and we may end up value engineering some of it out, and we may end up finding that it doesn't cost as much as we thought it did.
It's very true. It
Right.
sounds like the library, doesn't it?
Yep.
I've done this a few
Like
thousand
every one of
times. You're
these
correct.
projects. The
Right.
moment of truth is when you open the bids.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
That's when the
Sure.
moment of truth is.
And a word on that, I do believe that it's a very good time to be out on the street.
Couldn't be better.
Because
Um,
vendors are hungry.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this is probably an optimal time.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's also an optimal time to borrow money.
Right.
So, you know, I think that there's a lot of decisions for the building committee to make as we go along, and I certainly would want to share with them your concerns about the wash bay. There's a lot of decisions to be made, and who knows what this? We may be lucky. I'd rather be lucky than smart any day, by the way. And
Wisdom versus stamina.
absolutely. So, you know, it's we'll certainly take back your concerns to the committee. They're confronting this wash bay issue now. It's not easy. It may, you know, to accommodate the two different users, it may be two different systems that share common features. You know, I think that we're well aware that you know, we don't, while we're interested in a salt truck getting clean, you know, where it gets really dirty underneath, you know, while the fire truck may not have that same needs. So I think that they have to examine that.
I just want to add that I did get that email from Kathy Wick, and I left it at everyone's place regarding solar panels, so perhaps the committee could, we talked about this before the meeting, think about that going forward.
We certainly will deliver that document.
Thank you. It is, it's a great idea.
It's an interesting idea, and I think that I'm going to make sure that we contact our colleagues in North Haven to see how it went, because it's a January document.
Correct.
And I'd be interested to see what happened.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we've had a motion made and seconded to approve to adopt the resolution. So is there any further discussion on that?
So we talk about referendum versus.
That's coming up next. I promise you it's coming up next.
Greg, go with it. Next step.
Okay, so, is there any further discussion? If not, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And now, I would entertain a motion that the first selectman be authorized to call a town meeting on Tuesday, July 17 at 7 p.m. to be held at the Center Gym to consider and act on a new Woodbridge Public Works Facility bond resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Now.
Make that a special town meeting. Right.
Can we talk about maybe the benefits of having a referendum versus that, a town meeting, I don't know, tell me if I've got it correct. You have to have a minimum of,
100. Special town meeting, you need a quorum of 100.
right,
Should 100 not show up, then the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance can vote, a 2/3 vote each to approve. If 100 or more show up, then there's a need for a 2/3 vote to approve a capital expenditure.
Of the people who show up.
Of the people who show up, right. And lacking a 2/3 vote, if it's one more vote than 50%, then you can have a second meeting within 7 to 14 days, whatever it is. And if you get a second vote that's one more than 50%, then it passes. That happened with the firehouse. The first vote was a little over 50%. The second vote was over 2/3.
But each of those votes, if I remember correctly, each of those votes for the firehouse was at a referendum.
They were, that's correct.
At much greater expense.
What's
Participation.
the cost for a referendum? The single,
We
everything?
checked on that. Oh, Tony knows.
It's not that
Everything.
much. I think I asked the question.
The cost for a referendum, each option has costs to it. The special town meeting, they both have printing costs, legal ads that we have to place, all that sort of thing. The special town meeting one, the referendum option also has staffing costs. There's cost to program machines and that sort of thing. For a vote, ballots, right? There's ballot costs. So there's probably a difference of maybe $5,000 between the two.
And in a referendum, there's always a possibility of needing a second referendum.
Right.
If the vote is
That's the
between
other
that
cost.
50%, so you're talking $10,000 potentially.
Right, we're also
More.
talking about $5 to $6 million. I just think a referendum is, for me, is preferable. I think we get a better representation of the town. They come out to vote.
Remind me, I don't remember. You should know this. For it to go to referendum, you need, I mean, there's a petition with signatures, correct?
Well, Jerry can explain the legal, how this does, how it can operate, what the Board of Selectmen can do versus if the Board of Selectmen doesn't do that, then residents can petition.
Oh, I see.
Well, the residents can petition for a referendum if they want a referendum.
Right.
We can, as a board,
We can set it
You
as a
can go to a
referendum also.
referendum.
There is nothing in the charter that talks about petitions for referendum or a board having a referendum. The charter contemplated, was drafted, and has survived 200 plus years with just a special town meeting provision for capital expenditures over a certain over $50,000. State statute provides for the calling of a referendum by the Board of Selectmen when a special town meeting has been called to vote on something. In other words, the Board of Selectmen can remove the question from the special town meeting and ask that you
right.
put it on the
I remember
referendum.
now.
The other way that you can get it on a ballot, a ballot by machine vote, is there could be a petition of 200 people initiated by taxpayers, presented to the Board of Selectmen at least 5 days before the special town meeting, and that petition is presented and reviewed to make sure it's proper, and if it's proper, then the question at the special town meeting to approve the expenditure is removed from the special town meeting and placed on a machine for voting to referendum. So the first step is to call the special town meeting, and then the Board of Selectmen or residents have the option of taking that question out of the special town meeting on a machine vote.
So one of the things I'm supposed to consider in relation to a referendum is what has been the reaction of the public to this proposal. Myself, as the first selectman, have received one correspondence in regard to this, which I think is in the packet
It's in the
tonight,
packet.
of a person who is opposed to this proposal vis-a-vis more concerned about the Beecher Road School. So I think we can do both of these. That's the only correspondence I've got. We had a meeting, a public meeting on Monday night. No one spoke against it. This proposal has been presented to 6 or 7 different commissions. I think the reaction has been favorable from all of those. So I think that's something to consider, whether there is a need for a referendum or whether the special town meeting will accomplish the same thing.
Keep in mind, if the Board of Selectmen doesn't do the referendum, the public always has the right to present that petition. So that option, if you're not taking away the petition, by the Board of Selectmen not requiring not taking the right away of a referendum, by the Board of Selectmen not requiring the referendum. It can always be done by petition.
Right.
And if there's enough interest out there, somebody's going to present that petition.
Which is my position.
You may do the petition.
So we just call the vote, and
I mean, we're gonna have Beecher right around the corner too. I mean, we're gonna be dealing with this issue again.
so would you be going to a special town meeting for a $12 million feature?
It depends, well, we would, in any one of these, we'd have to do that. The question is whether you'd have a referendum. It depends on what the reaction of the public is to the Beecher Road School proposal.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the project at all. I mean, it's clearly it's needed. I just would prefer a referendum. That's my position.
Okay. So, well, the motion that's before us is, at the moment, is to authorize me to call a special town meeting on July 17 at 7 p.m. at the Center Gym to act on this new public works facility bond resolution. So that doesn't encompass a referendum in that motion. So that can be handled separately. So if there's no further discussion on that motion, I'd ask that all those in favor can signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
What are we voting on?
Just on scheduling it for July 17th,
Scheduling a
special town meeting. For July 17th at 7 p.m. at the Center Gym to act on this.
If it ends up going to referendum, you still have a special town meeting.
still
Yeah,
have
you
to
will.
have a
Most
special
definitely, you'll
town
have
meeting.
that. And
All
there'll be a
right, so-
discussion.
So we'll set the date. I'll
Exactly.
That's my point.
I will not be opposed to setting the date.
Correct. And then
That's my point.
procedurally, you act
Procedurally, I
that
would
night.
like to have us set a referendum that night.
We can take that up next.
It's got to be
What was
5
next?
days before.
No, well, I understand what you're saying, but you still have to set the
I'm
date.
not
You do
opposed
it.
to your
what,
Friday.
we
No
have
matter
to
what
do-
happens, there's
we
going to
have
be a
to-
special town
We have to
meeting.
do that. That's
This
my
will be
point.
discussed, there'll be a presentation made.
Right.
Whoever's there can ask questions and they'll be answered. And the question then is whether the vote will be taken right at that meeting or whether the special town meeting will be adjourned to a referendum at a
Right.
date certain.
All right. So I'm not opposed to the date set.
Right.
So you can strike my.
So that's unanimous?
If we were choosing to have a referendum and we weren't debating it at all,
No.
then if we were, then we would still schedule.
Special town meeting.
Special
Yeah, you
town.
have
Still
to
would.
do it. That's my
Like
point.
we did with,
And then-
what did we do the last one we did?
Toll Brothers.
Toll
Oh,
Brothers.
with the golf course.
Right.
Right.
With the golf
You
Right.
have to do.
And then we
special
would-
town
Set the date.
And then we
Golf
moved
course
it
is
to a
little different
referendum.
because the golf course was the
Exactly.
sale of real estate. It's owned by the town.
Right, but the
That's a
procedure was
separate-
the same.
Correct.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it is basically.
Still a
the same.
special town meeting.
Yes.
You have to do it.
So,
Do you want to call a vote?
right. So, again, all those in favor of authorizing the first selectman to call a special town meeting on Tuesday, July 17 at 7 p.m. to be held at the Center Gym to consider and act on the new Woodbridge Public Works Facility bond resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, man.
Oh,
But we have those concerts on Tuesday nights.
Oh, that's right, the concert, thank you for remembering that.
So can we do it
can we
at
do it
6?
8 or?
We can do it on the 16th. You
concerts
could
are
do it on the
16th.
18th. I mean, you know,
Monday the 16th?
I'm sorry.
I don't think that.
Well, the traffic is pretty
Okay,
heavy
all right.
for the concerts.
So how about the 16th? That's Monday, the 16th? All right, so let me repeat this.
Here we go again.
I'd entertain a motion to authorize the first selectman to call a special town meeting on Monday, September 16th at 7 p.m. to be held at the Center Gym to consider and act on the new Woodbridge Public Works Facility bond resolution.
So moved?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in
I
favor?
have one thing I want to
Go ahead.
ask. Sorry. Would it not be, if we had, since feature numbers are coming in soon, would it not make sense to be talking about these things at the same time at a special town meeting? No?
I think these are separate, and I don't think you're gonna have Beecher numbers that are gonna be finalized in the near future.
Well, you're right, we probably make this meeting have to go a little later. Does no one else want to talk about those two things at the same time with the public? I'm not having these things compete against each other. They're both necessary.
Right.
Well, I don't get the sense that the Beecher, I mean, the Beecher numbers have never been presented to this board in a way that's meaningful at this point, correct? I mean, we haven't seen the work of that committee yet.
The numbers that they are working with now are
Right.
$12 million.
Correct.
Is that
Right.
correct?
Right.
Phasing.
But we
Correct.
haven't seen any of that
No.
presentation or
that meeting
anything
never
else.
happened.
Right.
Correct, it got
Correct.
canceled and there was gonna be a
Right.
joint meeting. So I think you're hanging up this committee and its work. We don't know when the Beecher
I
numbers are
think
gonna
we
come
have to
back
look
us.
at this realistically. This has
Right.
been going on since 1987. 52 meetings these people have had. They're respected members of our community. They work hard and long on this. And we need this facility. It appears to be a reasonable proposal.
Correct,
And I think we have to move forward.
yeah.
So, again, any other comments?
No, I'm voting aye, yes.
All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. All right. So that gets us to,
Thank you for your
Thank you
support.
very much.
thank you, thank you, yep.
Thank you.
Town clerk's report, to entertain a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the town clerk's
So
report.
moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Next are minutes, and we have a number of minutes from our budget meetings.
These have all been adopted, approved by the Board of Finance already. So you can just receive them if you want.
Oh, okay,
Yay.
they're in charge of the minutes technically for those meetings?
Yay.
Well, I guess so.
They prepared them,
They
yeah.
prepared them.
Jerry has a disclaimer on these minutes. He didn't prepare them,
And they've
so-
been approved, and they're filed with the town clerk already.
So why don't we do that? Why don't we just acknowledge receipt of these joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meeting minutes for budget matters for November 29, 2011, December 1, 2011, January 24, 2012, January 26, 2012, and January 31, 2012.
All one motion?
Yeah. Just to acknowledge receipt of those
Second.
minutes, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Yeah, no, we'll just get this.
Yeah.
And then we have a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen on May 20, 2012 to modify the proposed fiscal year 13 budget. So I entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
For a second, I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Jerry, I
Yeah.
will abstain.
Okay, one abstention. There's a matter here that we didn't take up under Tony's report, is that what you're referring?
Correct.
Okay, and that's number 7E, Country Club of Woodbridge dining tent options.
Okay. As you are all aware, we had you had approved the funding for the site work for the tent at the country club. And the other piece of that was to get leasing for the tent. And we have been unable to, and Casper has been unable to secure leasing for the tent. It's too low of a figure, and for one reason, and secondly, it's considered non-essential equipment for a golf course and for a municipality. Those are essentially the reasons. So, in order to finance the tent, this is basically a financing question. One option available to us is to fund the tent through the proceeds of the club from prior years, which we did with the construction of the foundation, which I have here in front of me, if you so decide to go that route. Okay. The other is, which was suggested by Casper, would be to use the funds that were in the budget for next year for tree work, which is about $20,000, and therefore put off a lot of that tree work. There's a little bit of savings left in the financing for the equipment that can also be used to fund the remainder. So that's another option we have available.
What are we talking about in terms of dollars?
The tent price is about $22,500.
Well, what happened to the bid, the estimate they had?
That was the price for the vendor. This is to finance it. Leasing. It was.
I'm sorry.
This is the. Originally, we were going to lease it.
So the
over
price is
3.
the same?
Same price is the same.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is a financing question.
Okay.
This is
How to
purchasing
fund it.
rather than
I need to
leasing.
pay attention.
Right. Correct. Purchasing rather than leasing.
And this is not considered an essential municipal
That's why we
expenditure
couldn't
for a
get it.
tent.
Right. That's why we couldn't get it.
That's why we can't find it.
Yeah.
And Casper is unable.
They can't do because for the similar reason.
So that just requires us to purchase the tent.
I got you.
As opposed to financing it. over
Rather
a
than
period of
financing it over time.
Right.
Several
We're gonna
people
purchase
asked
it
me
in-
about why we didn't purchase it versus, why we were renting it, and it was recommended that we do that, but I don't have a problem with this.
I have a question about purchasing it.
Mhm.
How do we store it in the winter? Where do we
The
store it?
frame stays up and the
Right.
canvas part comes off and is stored in the facility.
We'd be able to store it at the,
At the facility.
there's a
yeah.
place somewhere.
Maybe in the
They have,
dining room.
they have garage storage.
Oh,
Maintenance garage.
Yeah.
okay.
Big, beautiful wooden lockers.
I thought the dining room.
I mean, and we'd be able, we'd have a place to clean it off and all that kind of stuff.
Casper.
Put it through the truck wash.
My preference, Tony, would be to find the money in the budget rather than use revenue.
So you'd prefer to find the money in next year's budget for the facility?
Country Club of Woodbridge.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's my first thought. But
Yeah, that's fine. That's certainly an option, absolutely.
Does that mean the tree work money?
Yeah, there's about
You're saying-
$9,000, $8,000 to $9,000 left in the financing piece because the rates came in a lot lower than we had anticipated. Pricing came in a lot lower than we had anticipated. That's the financing line item in the budget for next year. So that means there's a remaining difference of $13,000, $14,000 that would have to be funded. Brian's suggestion was to fund it out of the tree work, which would then leave about $6,500 left in tree work, as opposed to $20,000, which was originally in the budget.
Brian being Brian O'Hare
I'm
of
sorry.
Casper.
Brian O'Hare, yeah. That's why I spoke with him.
What's your recommendation? If you have one.
Either of us would accept it.
It seems to me, since it's in the budget, as Lawrence is suggesting, that we can sort of a line item transfer. That we
Do that, right.
It's
Well, that
essentially
makes
what would
sense.
happen.
Right,
And it
right.
would reduce, it would be a line item transfer to cover that cost.
That makes sense.
That's what Does anyone else have any comments on that?
I mean, I was opposed to last meeting, so I'll just be
Here we
consistent.
go.
That means we never go in the
Although if
tent,
you read
you
the
know that.
paper, I was in favor of it. That's okay.
So is it the consensus then, if we can use that word, that we take the monies from make a line item transfer from the Country Club of Woodbridge budget?
Does that have to wait until July 1st?
The financing of it would, but they can start the process.
Do you want a motion?
Yes.
I will make that
Is
motion.
there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So that's 4 in favor, 1 against, and 1 abstention. Okay, so that gets us down to the next item is resignation. Laura Fernandez resigned as an alternate representative to the Quinnipiac Valley Health District Board of Directors for a term ending June 30, 2014.
She can't do that.
That's what I told her.
It's
but-
the life, right?
So there's a vacancy to consider. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the first selectmen's report. And since we last met, I attended the volunteer tea put on by the Human Services Commission honoring 139 volunteers. and I think Beth was there. Nick Santoro received the First Selectmen's Youth Award for his volunteer work during the recent hurricane and Storm Alfred. As you know, he's the son of former Fire Chief Mark and Lisa Santoro and the grandson of the former Fire Chief Neil Matty and Angela. On May 11, I attended the dedication of the new John Brady Auditorium for the Performing Arts. It was very well attended. For Selectman Gorski was there as well, Matt Giglietti, and I think Lawrence and Susan. On May 19th, I attended the ribbon cutting at the Massaro Farm at 10 a.m. on the new 5 kW solar array. John Gorham was there, and Jason Morrill, and Bob Wall of the State of Connecticut Clean Energy Fund was there. So it's quite a sight there. Most of you are sure have been up there with the Wisconsin barn with the 5K solar array, the new and the old. It's a big combination. I attended a number of Eagle Scout ceremonies, one on May 20th at Laurel View in Hamden, where Justin Hill, Zachary McKinstry, and Matthew Schwartz became Eagle Scouts. May 24, I attended the Torch of Liberty dinner at B'nai Jacob, where Attorney Joel Karp was honored with the Torch of Liberty Award, and that was presented by Marvin Linder. On May 25th, there was a reception for Tony Fordo, retiring custodian at the library, and that was very well attended. Tribute to Tony, who's a great personality. It permeates any event. On May 28th, the fire department had its annual memorial ceremony in front of the new firehouse, honoring 2 deceased members, former Fire Chief Ed Redfield and Mac Baldwin. And they listed all the deceased members of the fire department who have over 1,000 years of service to Woodbridge, and Tom Kennefick was there as well as Joe Hellauer. And then we had the Memorial Day ceremony shortly thereafter at the Town Green, and we honored PFC Eric Soufrine and his family. Congresswoman DeLauro was there, Senator Crisco, Dr. Stella, and I want to thank Joe Hellauer for making all those arrangements, and it was a very nice ceremony. On May 31st, the old Firehouse Restoration Committee met with David Stein, our architect, and the committee plans to have the plans completed for the renovations by August, and hopefully the construction will start this fall to convert it into a fitness center and meeting space. On June 3, I attended the Co-Francesco Chiropractic and Healing Arts office grand opening on 260 Amity Road. Luke Co-Francesco is the owner, Dr. Luke Co-Francesco. His beautiful new offices there, which were designed by Richard Sisopic. Those of you remember, he designed the addition to the Beecher Road School. When I saw him there, I know you from another world here. But one of the things about their offices is they have a beautiful view of West Rock. And to see West Rock from an angle like that is just a beautiful, you don't realize how beautiful West Rock is. On June 3, I attended Tavern Night at the Darling House, and Tom was there. I don't need to see him. And Beth was there. I didn't see you either. But I was at the Jerry Shaw table, so we were in the back there. I guess that's what we didn't see. That was well attended. They had, part of the reception was in the garden, and the new tenants have a garden there, as Jerry Weiner described. There was another Eagle Scout ceremony on June 7th, scheduled for the First Church of Christ, but because of threatening weather, was switched to the firehouse. And John Zadrowski of Bethany became an Eagle Scout, as well as Ben Burt. And Ben is the grandson of Bill Burt. So they both became Eagle Scouts. On June 8th, I took a tour of the Country Club of Woodbridge Golf Course with Jason Beffert. Drove me all around the premises. I think every one of you should do that so you get an understanding of what this is, how this golf course is. It's very impressive. Got many compliments from people who are playing golf there about the facility. And Jason has invited each one of you to do that, so if you can, he's available to give you a tour. And then to remind you that on June 25th, which is a Monday, there will be a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen, Conservation Commission, Publicly Owned Properties Commission, Recreation Commission, and the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission at 7 p.m. and I believe it's going to be at the Country Club to talk about future options for the Country Club. That's my report. Joe?
Just a reminder, we'll be on this very quickly, but in September it's the 23rd, I believe, it's a Sunday, we're going to have a march that will start at Amity, and we will have people in costume, 1862. We're hoping for a little better support than we've gotten in terms of promises from some of the schools thus far, but please try and save the date, because we don't have many parades and whippers, so this should be worth coming to. And as I say, we'll have certain characters. We do have this President Lincoln has been identified, and we will be doing the Gettysburg Address. Good thing to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Tom?
Amity Board met this past week, but I was at our meeting, so I didn't go to that, but I'll report on that at the next meeting. There was a meeting on May 14th, and some of the issues that came up, the principal reported on dogs being brought back into the school, and there were a few, they call them false positives, but there were no drugs found in the school. They also, making news, was having the dogs come in and actually sniffing students, and there were a lot of, the school received a lot of response on that, both in favor of and opposed to. And that was actually discussed at this past meeting, and they postponed any kind of a vote on that until the fall, because they've got, I guess, to change policy that has to be on the agenda for 2 different meetings, and considering that we're coming up on summer and people are going to be away, they're going to push that off to the fall and deal with it at that point. They also talked about, and they had a great year this year. They had looked at, at one point they said they had 505 students taking 616 AP classes, and encouraging the students to take the AP exam. And the Amity girls softball team is a Class LL state champion.
I saw that.
It was wonderful. And my wife and I attended the blockade dinner, which is for all of the Amity athletes that are receiving special awards, and that's a pretty big deal. It's held at the Grassy Hill Country Club in Orange, and a lot of awards were given out. We have 2 students from Amity. Both swimmers will be attending the Olympic trials in North Dakota. North Dakota? Somewhere out there. So, but that's coming up, and that's a long way from here.
A little bit.
And the Board of Ed adopted the 2012-2015 technology plan, and there was some concern discussed about how we don't want our kids to fall behind technology-wise, but there's also concern that the kids are losing the traditional art of communication, which I guess would be talking to each other. So I think kids these days actually text more than they actually talk.
Right.
I can only report on the text charts we get on our phone that our kids don't talk much to their friends, but they text a lot.
Yep.
The Relay for Life was held on April 27th, and the event raised $80,000, which is great. And let's see, we talked about the conversion of the high school boilers from oil to natural gas, which we talked about tonight. Looking at, they had named a contractor for the conversion of the boilers at $77,543, and converting the, I guess the kitchen will be taken from a $120,000 reserve fund for capital non-recurring expenditures, and there were other work that has to be done that will be less than $10,000. And those are the bigger issues that we discussed. That's all I have.
Thank you. Greg?
I don't have a thorough report. I've been coaching a lot of baseball and haven't been keeping up with my land use meetings, but we should have soon, just to give you an update on the Beecher Building Committee. So we're expecting, those meetings kept getting put off because we were attempting to really firm up the numbers in the plan for this phased 3 to 4 stage approach of renovating the school. Expect to have those in the end of this month, so we should have something for everyone soon.
Lawrence?
Yeah, I missed the last meeting of the Recreation Commission, but I know that on the agenda for that meeting was a discussion or a conversation among commissioners about the Country Club of Woodbridge, and so I think there will be some interest and some input from those commissioners at this joint meeting we described on the 25th. And then, as we heard earlier, the Recreation Commission has been involved with Massaro Farm, working toward this new camp program, and so we'll see. Now that they can go ahead, we'll see how registrations go, and we'll see if they can get that off the ground. And then Dr. Stella presented highlights of what's happening at Beach Road School as far as the Woodbridge Board of Education is concerned. Really the biggest deal is the transition that is now imminent from a two-school model to a one-school model. They have had now for the last couple of years a principal and an interim principal. Beginning July 1st, as Dr. Stella reminded us, there will be one principal and an assistant principal, and the idea is there will be cost savings as far as administrative salaries are concerned, and a more streamlined administration. And then within the Beecher Road School community, if I could pretend to be part of it or speak for what I remember when I was a part of it. The new assistant principal is a long-standing faculty member, Nancy White. She is a Woodbridge resident, and each of my kids had her for 6th grade, and in my mind, they could not have chosen a better candidate for the new assistant principal. Anyway, they're working toward this new model beginning July 1st.
Okay, Susan?
I attended the Library Commission meeting on May 14th. I don't think I reported on that yet. Anyway, a lot of those events have been eclipsed, so I'm not going to bother. But I also attended on June 11th. The only carryover from May 14th is that Todd has been nominated to be vice president of Lion, which is the consortia, which really reflects well on our library. So that's a very nice thing. The Friends bookstore is going to be closed on Saturdays for the summer, but it's going to be open Monday and Tuesday mornings, which is new, to have those combination of hours. There's something called the Museum Pass program, which nobody knows anything about. Evidently, the library, free of charge, can pass on to residents of the town museum passes that it receives as donations from various donations and I guess promotions from various museums around the state. Obviously limited in number. What, Joe? You're dying to say something.
Well, thank you. The month of September, they are going to let us use the meeting room for Civil War art. And so Todd is working with Dr. Ahrens on that to help publicize the ceremony of September 23rd, but also teach people a little bit about the history of the Civil War. And we're going to have a display here in the meeting room as well.
Okay.
So I don't know where that came from.
It did not come up, but I'll tell you what did come up. They're going to be redoing the carpet in that meeting room. And the suggestion came up that while that's under construction, they should really have their meeting at the Country Club of Woodbridge in the tent in the summer, which is a nice way to sort of cross-pollinate the various efforts of town commissions. And Karen Cusick made that suggestion. She serves on both the library board and on the commission. I thought it was very creative thinking. There was a lively discussion about what happens when a donation or a gift book is given to the library, and whether that's consistent with what they call their reading and discard policy, because obviously a book is paper, it doesn't last forever. There was no resolution, but it was a lively discussion. I imagine it's going to go further. And on a serious note, the commission adopted an emergency policy for things like weather-related emergencies, fires, bomb threats, tornadoes, etc. They've evidently never had a policy. So this has now been adopted. They've taken comments. It's likely it's going to be revised in light of those comments. It's probably something that should be on file here at the town as well and posted appropriately. They're going to have training sessions with their personnel, but it should probably be a public thing. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Beth?
I was at the Board of Fire Commissioners meeting on May 21st, although they rescheduled the second half to May 22nd, and I couldn't. I had to adjourn, and I couldn't go to the second half, so half of this is from minutes. But the commission reviewed the budget, and there are several line items that are over budget due to both the storms, and I guess John is going to be talking to Tony about some of those issues. The department's working on a new electronic document management system to make record keeping and data management more efficient. Got something? Did you have to answer?
No, I'm reading about the murder. Go ahead, sorry.
Scared me.
No.
All right, the commission discussed the upcoming natural gas conversion as well and how it's going to impact the department. They had a blood drive at the fire department. The fire alarm system has been inspected and ladder and pump testing are continuing. Amity Baseball held a car wash there on June 3rd. And the department is up to date on submissions to the State Fire Marshal's office, and their next meeting is this coming Monday, which I'm going to try to go to part of it and then go to the public hearing with the planning and zoning. I wasn't able to attend the rescheduled Human Services Commission meeting due to the public hearing that we all went to. And I was also at the Firehouse Restoration Committee meeting, and I just wanted to add one thing which I thought was good. They're going to get, the architects are going to get input from the fire department as well as the recreation department, which will help with their planning in terms of what's going where, so there won't be, it's good to have input from the facility, the people that are going to be using this building.
Right.
So I was happy about that. That was a good idea. And again, on the light of Country Club of Woodbridge, Human Services is going to be doing a fundraiser in September at the Country Club of Woodbridge. So, a lot of departments are thinking, it's keeping it in mind, it's working well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any other business we want to transact? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll see you
So
on
moved.
June 22nd.